What was life like when you were a kid?
Um, what age are you talking?
12.
When I was 12, I think life was a lot simpler. I spent a lot of time outside playing and going to the neighbors, riding my bicycle, and that's when I got my dirt bike. So I spent a lot of time riding that as well.
What was school like when you were 12?
I think it was a lot like it is now, except we didn't have computers. We weren't allowed to chew gum. We get detention for that. Otherwise, I think it's probably a lot the same as what it is now.
When you were 12, what did you used to do for fun?
Well, I would play with the neighbors. I had four neighbors that were within 3 miles, within bike riding distance, that I would spend a lot of time at, just going between friends' houses playing.
Is there anything you didn't enjoy doing when you were a kid?
My chores.
What were your chores?
We raised rabbits, geese, ducks, chickens, and we had lambs for a couple of years. So I would have to feed and water them every morning and night. Except it was really cold, then my mom would usually do it for me in the morning if it was real cold out.
Where did you used to go for fun?
Like to my neighbors, my friends' houses, and to their farms. I guess when I was 12, I would also ride my bike into town, which was about 6 miles. And to me, it was pretty neat to ride my bike around town on the sidewalks and stuff, because that's something we don't have where I live.
What's different today than when you were little?
The video games, the electronics, the TVs. We did not have all those channels. We had 3 channels when I was growing up. I think I was in high school before we had a VCR. Obviously there were no cell phones. Actually, for our phone lines, we used to have party lines where there was 5 of us neighbors. I don't really know how it worked, but we could pick up the phone, and sometimes your neighbor would be on the phone. So you had to wait for them to get off before you could make a call.
What were your goals as a kid?
I wanted to join the Air Force and be a pilot.
Why didn't you?
I guess by the time I was a senior in high school, I had been dating your mother for a couple of years, and I just didn't want to leave her, so I did not go.
How many friends did you have as a kid that are still with you today?
That are still with me today? Well, I guess the friends that I had, I would say that I'm still friends with all of them. I just don't talk to hardly any of them anymore. There's a few that I see here and there. There's one person that I work with, which is Matt Decker, that I've known since I was in kindergarten.
Hey, last question. Is there anything that you miss from being 12?
I guess I miss how simple life was. I just had to do my chores, and then I was free to do what I wanted. I had a lot of fun just playing around the neighborhood.
What was life like when you were 12?
When I was 12. I would say pretty easy. I didn't have any chores growing up, and I spent a majority of time with all my friends. So after school, we lived in town when I was 12, so we would just go hang out around town, ride our bikes, and get together somewhere at the park or someone's house.
What was school like when you were 12?
A lot of fun. I had a very fun class. A lot of friends that I'm still friends with today. We had a pretty rowdy class, but we all got along very well. We had a couple of troublemakers, I will say, when I was in 6th grade. That year we went through 6 teachers. One of them ended up going to a psychiatric ward and had a nervous breakdown, which probably it's not real funny, but they. But we got
talking to you. It wasn't funny.
we got to the point where there were substitute teachers that would come in and were willing to teach our class. So there were a couple of really bad kids. At one point, one of the kids had locked the teacher out of our classroom and took his keys and jumped out the classroom window and ran away. And all of the desks were shoved up against the door for the principal and teacher to come in and get us until one of the kids finally let him in.
What did you do for fun as a kid?
I will also say this though about our school you asked about is different because when I went to school in Oxford and it was kindergarten through 8th grade. So we didn't have middle school. So I got to stay with the same kids all the way through kindergarten through 8th grade. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
What did you do for fun as a kid?
Just play with my friends. They're a couple of close friends, and we used to spend the night at each other's houses a lot. They would come to my house, or I would go to their house and hang out around town. One of my best friends lived kind of across the street, so we had just one person's house in between, and we would just run through their yard to go get to each other's house and stay overnight. And I think our record was like 23 nights of one of us staying at each other's
Is that
house.
Lori?
Yes.
Is there anything you didn't enjoy doing as a kid?
I didn't like cleaning my room.
Makes sense. Where did you used to play as a kid?
Like I said, at friends' houses. We're in town. When I was that age, we lived in town, so we just met up somewhere.
What's different today than you were little?
I would say with technology and electronics, I see kids now, everything's with the iPads and the iPods and the music and things like that, and everyone has to have a cell phone. We didn't have cell phones or computers. I didn't even have a computer at my house growing up. We didn't have one in high school up until I think my senior year, only in the library. When I took typing class, it was on an actual typewriter in high school.
What were your goals as a kid?
I wouldn't say I have any real goals as a kid, other than to graduate high school.
Growing up then?
Growing up, I wanted to get married and have kids and have a job that I really liked.
Is there anything, how many friends do you have that are still with you today?
I still have quite a few. Not too many moved away. I would say I still have 2 girlfriends that are pretty close that I went to school with since kindergarten that we still get together about once a month or so for different events. And there's been a couple recently this year for our 40th birthday party, so there were different events where we all got together, and like 6 or 7 of us that are pretty close that I went to school with kindergarten on up and still get together at events like that.
Is there anything that you miss from being a kid?
Miss from being a kid that I don't have now as a grown-up? Yeah, I would say when you're a kid you don't have to worry about, and you don't have the responsibilities. I didn't have chores, I didn't have to worry about making dinner, doing anything like that. I just came home from school and everything was done for me, and I didn't have a job or didn't have to worry about anything like that. So